It's the Full Court Press with Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker.
Welcome back to the to the show that we're doing right now.
Following the local teams, breaking down the biggest games with in-depth analysis and team interview. Join the show by calling into 435-752-1069 or text 435-339-0321. It's the Full Court Press.
Rose, answer. Yes! Caught! Touchdown! They did it!
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome on in to another edition of the Full Court Press. Eric Frandsen, Jason Walker, another shortened show. So, right out of the gates, shortened edition of the Full Court Press this afternoon here on 106.9 FM, 1390 AM, streaming on 1069thefan.com and on the 1069 The Fan mobile app. We've got Utah Hockey Club tonight. That's what it is. So Utah Jazz are on the East Coast, and Utah Hockey Club also on the road.
Yeah, they're taking on Detroit tonight, 5 o'clock puck drop. That's another phrase I have to add to my phrase. Because I know tip-off, kickoff. Now it's puck drop.
Yes, got to learn the vernacular.
Yeah, they're on at 5 o'clock. We'll hand it over to pregame for the hockey club at about 4:30. So we've got about a half hour to enjoy here on the Fan with the Full Court Press.
Yeah, so we're trying to get through a lot of different topics on the show. But if you want to chime in and be a part of the show in the short time we do have together, feel free to join us on the Young Power Sports of Logan text line, 435-339-0321. And actually got this text earlier in the day, which actually leads into our opening topic.
Yeah, it's almost like 9315 was with us in our planning meeting.
Yes. So it says, I heard earlier today from a Ute insider that's in the know, Craig Smith possibly could be getting hired on with another Mountain West team as head coach. Who do you think that would be? Any Pac-12 new news? So nothing new from the Pac-12.
Yeah, we don't get to play the bit.
No, but yeah, he did become official. Looks like Alex Jensen. He is going to be the next head coach at the University of Utah. He's going to be leaving the Dallas Mavericks, as everybody wants to do right now. And so
Luka didn't want to.
That's true.
Nico just wanted him out.
And everybody's
else.
dropping out, whether they want to or not, intended or not, is with Kyrie's injury and other injuries. But, Alex Jensen, look, he heralds from one of the high watermark eras of Utah basketball. He was a great player. He's been a coach for a long time at the NBA level. We see that there is kind of a growing appetite for college coaches to have some NBA experience, to prepare their players for what, can they get to the NBA? What do they need to do to get there? He was a long-time guy on the bench at Utah with a couple of different head coaches. He does have some head coaching experience in the G League and has been most recently an assistant in Dallas. And I think this is a great hire for Utah. From I'm not part of their fan base. I'm not part of their alumni. But this is a guy who was a part of their culture. He understands the fabric of their history, and people will understand him and recognize him instantly. Craig Smith coached in the state of Utah, but he wasn't a Utah guy. Alex Jensen is a Utah guy. He understands the school, he understands the state, and he understands what it takes to get to the next level and have an impact in the NBA.
Yeah, and on paper, it's a good hire, and there's nothing I can really do to criticize it. Not that I would particularly want to. I've kind of been rooting for Alex Jensen to get one of the coaching jobs in the state of Utah. It seems like he's been trying for so long, and he kind of deserves it, frankly. This is a guy who's been around the block as a coach. And it's clear that he can coach. He's been an assistant. As you mentioned, he's been a head coach in the G League. So this guy can coach. This guy can develop. This guy knows his way around a basketball. Of course, Utah fans are singing his praises like he's, the next coming of basketball Jesus, I guess. But as I was saying the other day when these Alex Jensen rumors were coming out, the key is recruiting.
Yeah.
Like,
That's the question we don't know. Can he recruit?
Yeah, people are praising Kevin Young, but we saw what NIL budget he has. He doesn't have this magical touch in recruiting other than that his fingers are tinged with green.
Yeah, a lot of greenbacks.
Can Alex Jensen do the same thing? Can he recruit very well? To be honest, I think Jared Calhoun's done probably the most impressive recruiting job out of anybody in the state, just pound for pound. Like, he's basically offering these guys basically nothing in NIL money because that's just about what he has to offer. And he's landed like 3 4-star recruits at Utah State, a place that typically gets a 4-star recruit once every like 3 to 5 years. And he's gotten 3 of them in one. Of course, they are getting, BYU is getting like the number 1 recruit in the nation. So that is hard to argue with. Yeah. But there's a lot of greenbacks involved there. Can Utah do the same? I feel like Craig Smith's biggest issue is that while he was good at recruiting at the mid-major level, like, people talk about how he like inherited Sam Merrill, but like he also brought in Nemish Keta and other guys, and the recruits he had eventually fueled the Ryan Odom era. So recruiting's not Craig Smith's problem. I think he ran into the problem of he didn't have the greatest resources to recruit, and he did okay enough, but not at the Big 12 level where everyone's got these massive NIL budgets and all these different things. So Alex Jensen is going to come in and he's going to be a really good coach. He might walk in and be the best coach in terms of scheme, in terms of all that. He might be the best coach in the conference. But is he the best college coach? Is he the best recruiter? Is he the best at working with young players? Because that's a big key. Can he work with young players who are not nearly as developed as the full-grown men professional basketball players he's used to dealing with? That's the question for Alex Jensen. Will it work? Who am I to say? But those are the questions I think I have now. There are things we know about Alex Jensen, and there are things that we don't. And that's the way it is with every head coaching hire. Every time a coach is hired, it's a great hire. Until 3 years down the line, suddenly they're a terrible hire. We can never tell in the moment. But you do hope that Utah basketball is able to bounce back, because the state of Utah has been on an overall fantastic rise in the last 5 or 6 years. BYU has gone from a decent West Coast Conference team to one of the better teams in the Big 12 and are now reeling in top-level recruits. Utah State ascended to the top of the Mountain West as a, perennial NCAA tournament team, perennial Mountain West championship contender, and is now moving on to the Pac-12. Is going to be competing with Gonzaga along with the best of the Mountain West. And Utah Valley, they're rising to the top of the WAC. Weber's been a little up and down. They've been better, but like them and the University of Utah, it's like they're just kind of treading water. Like SUU is doing pretty well as well. They've had some pretty solid years in recent times. But Utah, the program with arguably the most storied history in college basketball in the state, now kind of sucks.
Yeah.
And that's something you would hope would get turned around.
It doesn't have a culture. It doesn't have, the student section. The locals are not really there.
Yeah, nobody gives a crap.
Used to be a great venue.
Utah State can sell out their 10,000 seats arena when there's like 30,000 people in the valley. And Utah can't even, there's more like 100,000 people in the valley, but still, you're getting like a tenth of the population of the valley. And Utah, it's a bit bigger of a stadium, but they couldn't sell out the Spectrum, and if that was their capacity. It's just embarrassing. Even when they're decent. Like when Utah State's decent, they can sell out a game or two. Utah can basically sell out one game, and that's against BYU. And like a fifth of the seats will have BYU fans in them. So it's like, yeah, it's kind of pathetic there. But as far as like maybe who to address 9 through 5, kind of the meat of their question, like who could Craig Smith end up with? I figure he'll end up with a mid-major program, and he'll do a dang fine job wherever he goes. As long as he can land, I think I don't know if he's necessarily a rebuild a program that's completely in the dumps, because I know he kind of did that at Utah State. But Utah State had a foundation, and then he built something on top of it.
Yeah.
That had
it wasn't that far gone.
Yeah. And maybe repair, because like they were a mediocre team, with a program that had a recent and long-standing history. Once he, attached a few of the doors back on, he got the full support and was able to rise up. So I don't know if he can go to a San Jose State. Not that they're probably okay, but I say that example. Maybe even a Fresno State where it's they're in shambles. There's almost nothing there. Can he build something out of where there's basically nothing there? I don't know if he's necessarily the guy because he couldn't do that at Utah.
And so if the question is posed, could he be a candidate to be a coach somewhere in the Mountain West? Well, who in the Mountain West is going to fire their head coach?
Yeah, well, fire or lose their coach. Because here's the candidates.
Fresno State is probably the leading candidate. Yeah, they're going to need a new head coach.
I think Fresno State and your two sleeper candidates are Nevada and UNLV.
Yeah,
and another team.
There's definitely growing tension in Reno that Steve Alford is not getting the job done.
There's also a program who will not be firing their head coach, but may need one anyway. That's New Mexico. So I think those are the ones to keep an eye on, at least initially, are Fresno, two Nevada schools, and then New Mexico if they end up needing a coach. So I think those are the ones you pay the most attention to. There's discontent with Kevin Kruger and Steve Alford. And those are two fantastic landing spots, I think, because sure, they're a bit down in the dumps right now, but Nevada, very great recent history. Might be a little awkward given what Craig Smith's teams did to Nevada a couple of times. The fact that he was kind of in the way of one of their best years. UNLV, I think he could thrive there. They need someone to take that program and raise it back up. But the thing is, UNLV is also in the same spot as Utah. So I don't know. Maybe he can make it work. Maybe he couldn't. He was able to rebuild Utah State or repair the program. Rebuild may be the wrong word. Can he do the same with programs like UNLV and Nevada who need some repair? Granted, Nevada's recent success is a lot better than the UNLV, where you got to go just about back to the 90s.
Yeah. Well, there's also some excitement that here, not too distant future, they're going to be getting into a new arena. There's a big development going on with the hotel casino, and they want to build a new arena where Nevada will play its basketball in that new complex.
For a second, I thought you were talking about UNLV, and I was like, what are they redoing the Thomas and Mack?
No.
I think that thing needs an update. It needs to be modernized a little bit, but it is a very popular venue.
Yes. 6211, if Boise State wins tomorrow and the Aggies win on Saturday, the two teams will have identical 15-5 conference records. So why would Boise be the number 2 seed and the Aggies the number 3 seed?
So the tiebreakers that are there for the Mountain West, the first one obviously is head-to-head record. But with a 3-way tie, it's what is your record against all the other teams in that 3-way tie, or if it's a 4-way or however many teams you can add in there. So in the case of the 3-way tie, all of them have 2-2 records. Even if one of the teams had swept another, it wouldn't have mattered. So the fact that they all went 1-1 against each other, Utah State, Boise State, and Colorado State, that's not necessarily the important part. The important part is that they would all have a 2-2 record against the other teams in the 3-way tie. So at that point, the next tiebreaker is how did you do against other Mountain West teams? And you start at the top of the standings. Yep. So how well did you do against New Mexico? Then you would, in that case, you'd have to skip over the next 3 because that's Boise, Colorado, and Utah State, and you'd go all the way down to San Diego State, who's in 5th right now. But when you start at the top of New Mexico, Boise went 1-1. They got a win. Colorado State and Utah State didn't. So now that Boise has some kind of advantage, they get number 2. And then it devolves into a tiebreaker between Utah State and Colorado State. And the Aggies end up with that because Colorado State and Utah State have the exact same record against New Mexico. Boise, you have to go all the way down to San Diego State. Aggies swept them. Rams went 1-1. So the Aggies get the 3. Colorado State would get the 4 in this scenario. So yeah, it comes down to Boise's win over New Mexico. That's what gets them the 2 seed, and the Aggies and Colorado State in the 3-4 spot.
Then 9315, what Mountain West team will need a coach? He said he heard high, probably for Mountain West.
Who?
Don't know. 9315. But hopefully we answered that question earlier in our discussion.
The HI is the abbreviation for Hawaii. Well, I guess Hawaii is
not in the Mountain West.
They're coming into the Mountain West, but not for another couple of years.
Yeah, not immediately.
But yeah, the teams to look for, as I said, the two Nevada schools, if they get a little too worried about their coaches, who are decent coaches, but maybe aren't living up to the success they want. Granted, a lot of their biggest competitors are leaving for the Pac-12 in the near future, so they'll be ruling the roost there.
But let's be honest, Nevada, UNLV, would they want Craig Smith? Would they be on the lookout for somebody that has a little more higher profile resume? Somebody who has had a little more success, maybe at a lower mid-major, who has gotten their team to the tournament recently. Because I could see Craig Smith going to Fresno State more than I could see him going to Nevada or UNLV. For Fresno State, I think they'd be happy to have him. For Nevada and UNLV, I think they would have higher standards.
Perhaps, but this is a guy who's coming off of a run with a power conference team. Not a horrible one. He has a winning record.
He took it to the NIT last year.
Yeah, and he had 3 NCAA tournament qualifications at Utah State in a row. Made them a regular season champion once, conference tournament champion twice. Like, that's nothing to sneeze at.
No, it isn't. But
I get some of your point. But
somebody who's on a little bit of a downswing, or do you want somebody who's on the upswing?
Who is Nevada and UNLV managing to get that's better than Craig Smith? Like, who are they actually managing to pull? Like, yes, there are better candidates than Craig Smith.
Whoever's coaching UC San Diego right now.
Think he's better than Craig Smith? Craig Smith's won at a higher level. Every level he's been, he's won at a higher level.
That's true. I don't know.
Like, his resume's way better. Like, in the UC San Diego, he's done it once.
True.
And it's just barely coming out of, didn't UC San Diego barely come out of like D2 or whatever?
Barely have moved up, yeah.
So, like, yeah. They're Nevada and UNLV aren't pulling anybody better than Craig Smith. Are they necessarily going to go after him, assuming they even fire their head coaches? I couldn't say that. But, like, they're not pulling some current Power 5 coach, which is about the only way you're getting better than Craig Smith.
We got to take a time out here on the Full Court Press. Love to continue to get the text messages coming through on the Young Power Sports of Logan text line, 435-339-0321. We also want to mention and give a shout out to what's been going on with Utah State track and field. They just concluded their indoor season, and a number of their athletes getting some recognition. So we want to make sure we get some shine on them. We'll discuss who they are next here on the Full Court Press.
Rely now on a York Affinity Premium Comfort System to keep your home cool and comfortable. The new Affinity systems are smarter and more connected and more efficient than ever before. And you can cut your energy costs by as much as 50%. Call Advanced Heating and Air Conditioning, your local York dealer, to schedule a free system evaluation. Advanced Heating and Air Conditioning showroom is west of DI and online at advancedheating-ac.com.
We're not comfortable until you are. Advanced Heating and Air.
When grid failures and severe weather cause power outages, your business might take a hit, or at home, you could lose your refrigerated food storage. Generac Standby Power Solutions help ensure an uninterrupted power supply. Generac is the #1 brand of standby generators. Get yours today from Golden Spike Electric, your trusted source for safety and security. Golden Spike Electric, powering your peace of mind. Online at gscgenerators.com or call 257-3016. They also service other models.
Retirement. Are you ready? Adams Wealth Advisors specializes in preparing you for a secure retirement. There's no reason to feel frustrated. The team at Adams Wealth will create a personalized plan that includes timing of retirement, reliable income sources, Social Security, estate planning, and more. Adams Wealth Advisors has a team of CPA, certified financial planners, Social Security experts to help you plan and retire with confidence. Call today, 752-1702, or visit adamswealthadvisors.com. That's adamswealthadvisors.com. Your dream retirement starts here.
No matter what the conditions, DD Auto and Salvage can get your vehicle up and off your property. Now is the time to plan to make extra cash by calling DD Auto and Salvage and moving that old vehicle. Let them pay you for that junk vehicle. DD Auto and Salvage makes it so easy to get rid of your junker vehicles, paying you the most money possible. If you have metal, DD Auto and Salvage in Logan wants to pay you today. Call 787-1204. That's 787-1204 today. See store for details.
This is Kyle at Advanced Door, and we guarantee every garage door we install for a lifetime, parts and labor. That's every door, every spring, every roller, every track, every motor. The entire garage door system guaranteed for a lifetime, parts and labor. We're Advanced Door, and we guarantee you'll be hearing this for a long time. Find out more at advanced-door.com. That's advanced-door.com.
Happy winter. This is Mark at the Sportsman on Main Street, where we make winter fun. We are your ski, snowboard, snowshoe, and cross-country ski rental shop. Come in and rent for the day or longer and have a great time outside. We also have great deals on new skis, boots, bindings, underwear, and outerwear, so you are comfortable playing in the snow. See the Sportsman for the best deals, the best service, and most unique products you will find for the outdoors. Only at the Sportsman on Main Street in downtown Logan.
They never could play it, but they sure can talk about it. Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker on the Full Court Press.
The Napa Gold Filter Sale is going on now through next Thursday, March 15th. All Napa Gold filters are up to 60% off. And then while you're there, might as well get some great deals on diesel oils. So you can service your diesel with a premium oil and a Napa Gold filter. Go check it out. The specials are available now at your locally owned Preston and Providence Napa Auto Parts. Want to make sure we get this in, but the indoor track and field season, at least conference season, has concluded. They had the Mountain West Indoor Track and Field Championships recently, and there were 10 USU student athletes who got recognition on the All Mountain West team. And graduate Brendan Benson, senior Nate Franz, juniors Ernest Green, Sam Green, Logan Hammer, Marshall Rasmussen, sophomore Landon Bott, freshman Diogo Aguirre Stewart, and Tate Priestley earned All Mountain West honors, and freshman Abby Scott was able to get that on the women's side. And because of his performances, Logan Hammer, he's going to go on to the NCAA Division I Indoor Track and Field Championships. That's going to be taking place in Virginia Beach, Virginia next week. And so he's going on to the national competitions. Meanwhile, the rest of the team, they're going to get their outdoor season started the following weekend down at Utah Tech, and then eventually down in Tucson, Arizona. So the outdoor season, it just comes right after the indoor concludes. But congratulations to those 10 student athletes from Utah State, and best of luck to Logan Hammer, who goes on to the national competition in Virginia next weekend.
And Logan is on the up and up, and I don't mean that just because he's doing the pole vault. He's that pun was unintended, although I wish I could say it was intended. But yeah, and then of course you got Landon Bond, who's obviously doing pretty well. So good stuff from Utah State in track and field. Can't say I know too much. Unfortunately, it's one of my areas of weaknesses, but can at the very least recognize greatness when I notice it.
Yes. 2444 on the Young Power Sports of Logan text line. I hope Jared Calhoun stays at Utah State for the remainder of his career, but hypothetically speaking, if he were to take a Power 5 job at the end of the season, do you think USU would consider a second run with Craig Smith?
They might consider it, well, since it's a completely different administration, I'd say they probably ultimately wouldn't, but they also shouldn't. I think Gary 2.0 should have taught us better than to go with Craig Smith. It's like, don't go. My general thing is don't go for the obvious hire, as weird as that sounds. Don't go for the obvious, the one that everyone, says, definitely go for this guy. Like, go out, do your due diligence, figure out who is the best fit now. Don't do it based off of who was good for you 5 years ago.
If it turns out after you do your due diligence that Craig Smith could still be the best guy, then okay. But I'm with you. Just they still owe it to themselves to put the feelers out there, because there would be a lot of attention, a lot of interest in filling that job at Utah State, because look at all the success the program has had despite a revolving door of head coaches.
Yeah, Utah State consistently draws in the best up-and-coming coaches. They end up producing all of the continually up-and-coming coaches, but yeah.
And it's headed to the Pac-12, which will be an even better basketball conference.
It makes it even better. But Yeah, Jared Calhoun's sticking around, so no need to worry about that for at least another year or two.
Yes, and let's hope for longer. But one other thing, just a few minutes left we have here on the Full Court Press, because a reminder, shortened show tonight. We've got Utah Hockey Club pregame coverage coming at 4:30 as they take on Detroit. Utah Jazz were in action last night, taking on the Washington Wizards. The race to the bottom, and Utah did everything it could to throw it in Washington's favor, and they took the bait. And they won the game. So the Utah Jazz found a way to lose at Washington, NBA's worst team. But Utah did it by throwing out a glorified G League team to compete against another NBA team parading around or another G League team parading as an NBA squad.
Yeah, looking at the lineups for both teams, it's almost embarrassing. It was a tank battle that even the most renowned commanders in World War II would be proud of. And the Jazz ended up winning that tank battle. And of course, by winning, I mean losing. Keeps them in the third position in the good old tankathon. They're just about there. They have the same number of losses as Charlotte, who's currently number 2. Of course, Charlotte on an 8-game losing streak. So they're trying to out-tank the Jazz. They have one fewer win. And then New Orleans has 2 more wins, 2 fewer losses, so an exact 2 games ahead/behind the Jazz, and all this backward logic here. So the Jazz pretty safely in that top 3 for now, and certainly, as evidenced by yesterday, doing their best to make sure whenever they have a chance, need to make sure they out-tank their opponents, because they lost to New Orleans not too long ago. The win over Minnesota is the thing that's keeping them from being tied with Charlotte. But I was okay with that because I was at that game.
The Utah starting lineup last night: KJ Martin, Kyle Filipowski, Bryce Sensabaugh, Johnny Juzang, and Isaiah Collier. So the oldest guy on the court for that starting unit was, what, KJ Martin?
Probably. He's like 24, 25.
Johnny Juzang's been in the league 3 years.
Yeah, Juzang's pretty okay. And he was also like an older college guy. Like he didn't leave UCLA until he was like a junior or senior. I think.
Probably safe to say all those guys are 25 years or younger.
Why don't I check the ages?
Yeah, pretty young group, not very experienced, but the tankathon is on for the Utah Jazz. But that's going to pretty much wrap it up for us because we've got to step aside. We got Utah Hockey Club pregame coverage coming up here shortly. But tomorrow we'll get into more about Utah State and Air Force, kind of wrapping things up for the regular season for the Utah State Aggies, and we'll hand out some Mountain West awards. Who would we think could be the player of the year and all that jazz? So we'll get into that. Maybe even some discussion about some of the Region 11 basketball players.
Yeah, high school ball.
As well. So stay tuned for that. Coming up tomorrow here on the Full Court Press.
Nothing better than a great song from 1976. Hi, this is Bob Larson with LSS Insurance, and I'm talking to you, graduating class of 76.